Okay. Let's see what's happening. Did it pop up there? Still working on it. Okay. Let's see if that does it. Well, I pass these out. Here you go. Sorry about that, online people. We're hooking up all this machinery to make it work. And hopefully it's going to work. Something's going on. Are we there yet? Ah, we're there. Good. Very good. 3.3. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this time we have together. I ask your blessing on these students as we work through this topic. Help them to take good notes, to understand what's going on, and make good notes in preparation for taking a test at the end of this chapter. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. Page 133. Exercise 3.3. Question 1. I'm thinking I'm using the wrong color there. Question 1. Let me move this back a bit. There. Show that the statement is equivalent to Can you read that? Can you read that statement right there?
Can you use the 2 arrows?
Oh, I've got it backwards. Boy. Copy it down right. If not Q, then not P. Everybody see that? Say, how do you read that? Look back at page 129. Bottom of the page. If P, then Q. This is if P, then Q. This is if not Q, then, if not Q, then not P. Everybody follow how to read that? Now, what do they want me to do? Show. Here's how you show it. And I sent a message to someone online that I said, your answers don't have to look exactly like the ones in the answer book. The guy who wrote the answers in the answer book kind of puts columns in different places because he's trying to show you the sequence he's following. Don't worry about it. Just follow this procedure, and when you're finished, when you check the answer book, if your final column matches their final column, you know you've got it right. Okay, and here's how we show this. First we put out here P and Q. I'm going to have to move this over a little bit. And then we're going to put right next to it, if P, then Q. And you're going to copy this in your notes, and it comes right from page 129. Okay? You got that? You're just going to put it on your little index card. And what are the four possibilities? True and true, then what? True and false, false and true, always, false and false. Those are always the four possibilities. So now, if P, then Q. If P is true and Q is true, what's if P, then Q? Based on page, what did I say? 129, looking at the picture. If P, then Q is true. Everybody see that? From the picture on page 129? Then, if P is Q is true and Q is false, if P then true, if P then Q is false. Did everybody see that from page 129? If P is false and Q is true, if P then Q, false and true is true. Isn't that what page 129 says? And the last one, if P is false and Q is false, then if P then Q is true. Is that what it says? Did I copy it down right? That's the truth value. That's the truth value. How come it doesn't want to give it to me? For if P, then Q. True, false, true, true. What's the truth value for or? If P is true and Q is true, or is what? True. If P is true and Q is false, or is true. If P is false and Q is true, or is true. You don't have that in your notes somewhere? If P is false and Q is false, or is false. Now let's do and, because we just need to review this a little bit. Let's do and you should have that in your notes somewhere. If P is true and Q is true, and is true. If P is true and Q is false, and is false. If P is false and Q is true, and is false. If P is false and Q is false, and is false. Does everybody understand? Yes or no?
I don't understand how false and false on the is true.
You don't see how false and false is true?
No, wouldn't it just be false?
Okay. If it's raining outside, I will be carrying an umbrella to class. It's not raining outside, and I did not carry an umbrella to class. Did I lie? That's why it's true. If the conditional is false, then the consequent doesn't matter whether it's true or false. If this isn't, the only thing that makes significance is if this is true, then this has to be true. If this is false, it doesn't matter what I do with my umbrella. Does that help people understand that? If it's raining, I'll bring an umbrella to class. So if I walk into class today and it's raining outside, if I don't have an umbrella, I lied. You follow that? If I have an umbrella, I told the truth. What if it's not raining and I bring an umbrella to class? You go, Dr. Bonon, you have an umbrella in here. I know, I just thought I'd bring it to class. Well, you said if it rains, I'll bring an umbrella. Well, I didn't say what I'd do if it wasn't raining. Everybody follow that? So if it's not raining, I can bring an umbrella, or I can not bring an umbrella. And I still have told the truth. Does everybody follow it? You don't like it. You don't have to like it. I didn't say, do you like it? We need to count to 3 and say, capital L logic is stupid. Go ahead, do whatever you need to do. But you don't have to like it. Do you understand what I just said?
Why is true okay, P is true and Q is false? Why does that make a false when P is false and Q
Watch
is
this.
true?
If it's raining outside, and it is, and I don't bring an umbrella to class,
Yeah.
I lied to you.
Okay.
So that means if it's raining and I don't bring an umbrella, I made a false statement.
Right.
Because my statement was, if it's raining, I bring an umbrella. If it's raining and I don't bring one, then that's a false statement.
Okay. Does the way we're doing this apply in the same way to the problems we were doing for our homework? Like, is that because of the if-then statement?
Okay, that's right.
This
The
seems
homework
like
for
completely
3.3, the homework for 3.3, you remember how the homework on the previous sections all depended on the truth value for and or?
Yeah.
The homework for this section all depends on the truth value for if-then.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just really confused because on the last assignment, when we had false and false, it was always false. Yeah, that's why I was confused as well.
Yeah, because that was with and or.
Oh,
But this is if-then. This is a different operation. Like and could be addition, or could be subtraction. This is multiplication. You follow me? We have different rules for the different logical operations. And you see why you have to have notes there? Because you say, when I'm looking at and, this is the truth value. When I'm looking at or, this is the truth value. When I'm looking at if then, this is the truth value. And the reason we have to spend, before we start doing exercises, if we don't spend time talking through this and making sense of it, it's just going to tie your stomach in knots and give you a super bad headache. So we have to talk through what this means. Why true and true are true, why true and false is false, why false and true is true, and false is true. And I don't know anybody who really likes that, but you don't have to like it. You just say, that's the way it is for if-then statements. And the why is what I'm helping you understand now, the why of it. Not the whether or not you like it. Get over that. This class is not about liking logic. This class is about learning logic. And my experience has been, when people really start learning logic, they don't like it.
okay. So, just to reiterate, so we did and or. So what is today then?
So what is today? What's that little red arrow say?
Write it.
What is today? What's the lesson today on? Is it and? No. Is it or? No. It's what? How do you read that little red arrow? What's that called?
Like, that's all I need to know.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
so, yeah.
If then.
You're just coming across condescending, and I'm just asking a question.
I'm sorry?
You just kind of came across a little condescending. I was
Sorry
just
about
asking.
that.
No,
Didn't
you're
mean
good,
to be.
you're good. I get it now.
I'm just rehearsing what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's alright. It's alright.
Pardon me for sounding condescending. I'm just very intent about people understanding this. And that's why I keep asking, do you understand it? And if you don't, you should ask a question. And if I sound condescending,
No, you're
I
good now. Get it.
apologize, but I'm not offended if you feel that way, because my wife tells me I sound that way at home all the time. And I don't mean to sound that way. It's just I have a harsh voice and a demeanor that comes across like that. Hey, that's life in my world. Okay. So, are we all on the same page now? We're ready to do some homework that we're not going to like because we don't like this truth table. I don't like the fact that it's true, false, true, true. Those two truths just really irritate me. Well, be irritated and then do the homework. Okay? So now, number one, show that the statement, I'm going to show this. Change back to the black one again. If if Q, no, let's go to green. If Q is true, what's not Q? If Q is true, what's not Q? False. Oh, I said I was going to green. There. If Q is true, what's not Q? Erase this and put false there. False. If Q is false, what's not Q? True. Agreed? If Q is true, what's not Q? False. If Q is false, what's not Q? Does everybody follow that? That should be in your notes. To negate something just says if it's true, false, true, true. To negate it is false, true, false, true. So what's not P? If P is true, what's not P? False. If P is true, what's not P?
False.
If P is false, what's not P?
True.
If P is false, what's not P? Now, I'm going to go back to the red one here. Now I have a little box in here. Let's make this go up a little higher. Can I do that? Probably not. If I erase that, I'll probably erase the whole thing. Yeah, but just about did. Now, I have an if-then statement. I'm going to change it to green again. I have an if-then statement. And the if is false, and the conclusion, the then, is false. So what's the truth value of false and false? Right there, true. Everybody follow that? You just look at your chart. You just look at the picture you made. If is true, then is false. What's the truth value of true, false?
False.
True, false is false. Everybody with me? If is false, then is true. What's the truth value of false, true? What?
True.
See, you don't even want to say it, do you? It's just like it just offends you to say that. Just get over it and say it's what it is. True and true. What's the truth value of true and true? That's up here. True. So this is the truth value of this statement right here. Now let's do the truth value for this statement right here. Oh, what's the truth value for this statement? There it is right there, isn't it? Isn't that what this is? So I'll change it back to black and just go true, false, true, true. I mean, I could go through all this stuff again, but I don't need to, do I? What? You don't know where I got something?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking.
Okay, everyone see where I get TFTT? From here. Because this is this. Yes.
How come like both of the second are F's, but then it's F over there? But I thought that for this it's like 2 are F, but it's true.
You're talking about over here?
Like, because don't you compare the two little squiggles?
These two here?
No, on like the column, the pink column ones, the second one down is both F on
This
both.
one?
Yeah.
If it's true here and false here, what happens when it's true and false?
No, I mean like how that one's false on that pink squiggly thing, and then that one's false over there. So then over there it's false instead of true.
This one over here is false. Why is this one false? Because that's true, false, true, true. That's the truth value for an if-then, and that's what this is. If P, then Q. if P then Q has this truth value, TFTT. Okay, you follow that? TFTT?
Yeah.
Good. Now, what did we determine this to be inside this red box? TFTT. Do you see where we got that?
Oh, you're not good. Never mind.
Okay, do you see where we got that?
Yeah.
So, does that make this and this equivalent? Do they both say the same thing? TFTT, TFTT? So we have just shown that these two statements are equivalent because they have the same truth value using the pattern that we have now put on our little card for if-then. Okay? So we're ready to do another one. Now, do you have that? Now, see this if-then stuff right here? It's going to disappear off the screen. So if you don't have it on your card, put it down real fast so you'll have it in front of you while we're working this. Because if you keep turning back in the book, back and forth, you're going to lose it. You need to have it right there in front of you so you can see it while you're working the problem. Well, it won't slide up for me. What's the deal? Come on. What's that all about? Well, let's see what happens when we start writing. 2. Problem number, no, let's change colors here. Problem number 2. What does it say to do? Use truth tables to show the equivalence. And problem 2 is P, if P then Q. No, copied it down wrong. You got to copy this stuff down right. If P then not Q is equivalent to not, parentheses, P and Q. Did I copy it down right this time? Let's move the 2 over here. Okay, so now we're going to have to put P and Q down here because we're going to need it every time. So you put out in front true and true, true and false. There we go. False and true, false and false. All right? Everybody with me? We always start with this. Now, what's P? True, true, false, false. So I go true, true, false, false. Everybody follow that? What's not Q? False, true, false, true. Does everyone see where we get that? Now, we're going to come back here and do this thing in the middle. For if then. True and false is what? Thank you. Got your chart right there, right? True and true is what? What? True. False and false is it's just so hard to say it. But you look at the chart, it's true. And false and true is true. Are we all together here? Where did we get that false and true is true? From the chart we just made. From page whatever it was. You got the chart there in front of you? If you're looking at the chart, it works, doesn't it? If you're not looking at the chart and just trying to absorb it all in your heart and do it, your heart's deceitful and it'll mess with you big time. So just write it down and look at it. So now we want to know, is this equivalent to, so let's change colors again. What's if P then Q? What's the truth value for if P then Q? Look at your chart. What is it? True, false, true, true. So then what would not this be? Oh, that's not if then. I'm sorry. Made a mistake. That's and. What's the truth value for and? No, change colors. Don't use that color for this time. And. Look at your chart for and. True. False. 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 Is that right? You go, I don't know. What's my chart for and say? Yeah, and says true, false, false, false. Then what's, now I'm back to red. So what's not that? False, true, true, true. Does this and this match? False, true, 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 false, true, true, true. So that makes those equivalent. That's what they mean when it says use truth tables to show the equivalence. We just use the truth table to show the equivalence. Number 4. Why is that thing not wanting to move up? Who knows? Maybe you have to tap it. That must be what it is. 4. 4. If 2 plus 2 equals 22, then 22 equals 4. Now what am I supposed to do? Find what? The truth value of each statement. I'm trying to find the truth value. Okay, here's if, here's then. So if P, then Q. You follow me? Putting P and Q in here to represent my chart. Okay, is 2 plus 2 equal to 22? So P is false. Right? Does 22 equal 4? Yes or no? No. So Q is false. So what's the truth value for the if-then statement? False. Look at your little chart for if-then. False and false is what? True. You got it? You see what to do? Good. Let's do another one. That's great that you're seeing this stuff. If 2 plus 2 equals 22, then 8 equals 4 plus 4. So here's if, then, P and Q. Is P true or false?
False.
It's false. Is Q true or false?
True.
True. So what's about the if, then?
True.
Is it true or false? When it's false and true, what's if, then?
True.
True. See, they want you to find the truth value of the statement. The truth value of the statement. And the truth value is based on your if-then truth value chart.
So the numbers pretty much have like really not much to do.
So that's why, see why I put the letters P and Q in there? Because it's like I'm taking this information and making it look like my chart so I can answer whether or not it's true or false. And then I say, okay, so I got a false P and a false Q, and that makes an if-then statement true. Good for you. Okay, number 8. Whoops. Number 8. If 2 plus 2 equals 4, then x minus 2 equals 5. Find all the numbers, replacements for x's. Find all x's that make a true statement. I know you can't read my penmanship, but you can read it in the book. So this is just how I do my homework. And if your homework looks messy like this, you say, he surely won't penalize me because his looks messier than mine. So don't worry about it. Find all the x's that make a true statement. Okay, now we're looking at the if-then statement as to whether or not it's true or false. Okay, here's P, here's Q. 2 plus 2 equals 4. True or false? That's true. If P is true, then from the chart, what can Q be to make a true statement?
True.
It has to be true, doesn't it? If P is true, doesn't Q have to be true? On your if-then chart, if T is true, then Q has to be true. So what could I put in place of X that would make this have to be true? 7. Everybody follow that? Let's do number 10. If x plus 2 equals 6, then 3 plus 2 equals 5. So here's P, here's Q, and it's an if-then statement. Well, is P true or false? Depends on what I put in place of X, right? Is 3 plus 2 equal 5? So that's true. Now, look at your chart back on page, oh, right there it is on page 132. See where it has P and Q, and if P then Q, true, false, true, true? Okay, when is Q true? Q is true when P is true. Agreed? Q is also true when what? When P is false. Everybody see that from looking at page 132, table 3.13? Everybody follow that? So, it doesn't matter whether P is true or false. This would be a true conditional no matter what P was. So what number could I use for X? 4 would make it true. What could I use to make it false? 5 or 6 or 7 or any number. So what would I put in place of X to make this statement valid? 4 would work if it was true. What if it was false? What would work? Any number, right? Any number. So I could use 4 or any number. If I say any number, that includes 4. So I've got all the bases covered. So the answer to number 10 is, what replacement for X will make this sentence true? Any number. Okay. I skipped the kissing problems and the beer problems because I just don't like them. So you're welcome to skip them too. Number 14. That's what I have to do, is tap that thing a little bit. 14. Construct a truth table. All right, so I go number 14 is if P, then Q, in parentheses, arrow, P, brackets, arrow, Q. Well, erase this and move it up a little bit again. 14. And I always start with P and Q. And what are the choices? True and true, true and false. See why I always put this out here? Because it just makes it easier to see what I'm doing. So always put those 4 out there. So you get in the habit of putting that pattern out there. And I don't think the answer book always puts that out there, but it's easier to think it through. So what's the truth value for if P then Q? Table 3.13 on page 132. True, false, true, true. Agreed? Now, what's the truth value for P? Oh, let's just leave it red. What's the truth value for P?
False, false.
True, true. Everybody see that? True, true, false, false. So I go true, true, false, false. Then I come back here. Whoops. Then I come back here to do this if-then thing. All right? Now, true and true for if-then is what? True. False and true for if-then is true, and false for if-then is, and true and false for if-then is, true and false for if-then is false. Everybody follow what we did? So now we've got this part done. Now we have to come over here and do this other part. So let's change back to black again. So what is Q? True, false, true, false. And I'm getting that from this column right here. Everybody see that? Now, do I have another color in here? Blue. I'm comparing these two to fill in this if-then statement. True and true would be what? True. True and false would be true and false would be false. False and true would be, and false would be true. You can tell by the tone of your voice. It's even hard to say it. But if you look at the chart, that's what the chart shows, doesn't it? So that's what you end up doing. Okay. So now what did they tell us to do? Construct a truth table for each statement. So if I went to the back of the book, if the answer to 14 was in the back of the book, it obviously wouldn't look like this, but their final column would be this column right here that I'm looking for to see if it matches with their final column. You follow what I'm saying? So when you grade your homework here, you just look at the last column to see if it matches yours. And if it doesn't, then go back and look at what you did to see where your mistake is. And if you can't see your mistake, then stay after class on Monday, and before we always have 30 minutes before chapel, and I'll help you walk through it. Any questions? We got this down? We're going to have fun? No. But it's good to admit that, isn't it? Just to say, this is not going to be fun, but I know what I need to do. Well, we've got another one to learn. The biconditional. No, let's skip that. We're going to run out of time here if we're not careful. Let's look at problems 20 through 25. P is what? I will buy it. Q is what? It is a poodle. Translate each statement into symbolic form. So they want me to do symbolic form. For number 20, if it is a poodle, then I will buy it. Okay, see why I'm putting those letters in there for the words? Saves time and saves space. Here's an if-then statement. Agreed? And what's if it is a poodle? That's Q, isn't it? Then I will buy it. Isn't that P? So, if Q, then P. That's the answer to that question. All they said to do was translate those words to symbolic language. Okay, let's do number 22. 22 says, it is a poodle, if and only if, I will buy it. So, if and only if. What it is a poodle, what is that? Q. And I will buy it is P. Everybody agree with where I'm getting my letters? You don't have a symbol for if and only if, do you? Well, there it is right there. And here's what, in other words, this symbol is read Q, if and only if P. And what that means is if Q, then P, and if P, then Q. That's what that means. They should tell you that somewhere back here. Yeah, on page 131. Page 130 and 131. Oh, and while we're looking at page 130, something else to put on your chart here. What's the truth value for if and only if? What's the truth value for this symbol based on the chart from page 130? See it written in red letters there at the bottom of page 130? What's the truth value for if and only if? True. Then what? False. Then what? False. Then what? True. Now, is this truth value different than if then? Yes, it is. Because if then, put it over here, if then is what? What's the truth value for if then?
True, false, true.
True, false, true, true. That's not the same, is it? And they're showing you why this is different with the table 3.12 on page 130. But now you have some more information to put in your notes. You have and, the truth value for and. I'm looking at my chart here. The truth value for or, the truth value for if then, and the truth value for if and only if, and they're all different. But they're all built on this P and Q concept. Man, I don't know why they want to do that. P and Q, true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. That's why you always start with that whenever you're working a problem. Well, let's go back and do some more of this stuff before we run out of time here. Oh. So 22, if it's a poodle, Q, if and only if P. So when would that be? So, oh, they just want me to translate it. So I've done that. Q, if and only if P. That's all they want. That's enough of that. 26 to 28. No, let's skip the beer problems. I don't like those. You don't have to work them either. I don't know why the guy who wrote this book is so fond of beer. Why didn't he talk about Pepsi or something? Or Mountain Dew? Problems 29 to 31. What am I supposed to do for 30? Write each statement in symbolic form. So they want me to write it in symbolic form. So that's what you do for 29 and 31. We're doing 30. 30 says, if Maida is home by 5. But what did they call that? Oh, that's H. If H, then what? Dinner will be ready by 6. And they called that G. You follow me? So I have an if-then statement with H. So they want me to write it in symbolic form. I just go if H, then G. And that's the answer. Everybody follow what we're doing?
Is it R?
I thought it was R.
Oh, R. You're right, it is.
I mean, it makes the same answer.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong one. R. R. Good. So that's all you're doing there. In problems 35 to 39. Oh, I don't know why they didn't fill in the blanks there. In general, the statement, all P's are Q's, can be translated as, if it's a P, then it's a Q. So take your book and fill in those spaces. In general, the statement, all P's are Q's, can be translated, if it's a P, then it's a Q. So write each in if-then form. Number 36, I'm going to write it in if-then form. All cats are felines. So what do I say? If it's a cat, what? Then, if then what do I say next? It's a feline. Okay? That's what you're doing for 35, 37, 39. Skip number 40. You don't do that one anyway. Oh, number 41. This is kind of cool. I know this is one of yours, but I better help you with it. Just because I like doing this stuff. The negation, watch this. Negate if P, then Q. What's the negation of if P, then Q? To negate if P, then Q is to say what? P and not Q. That's to negate if P. To negate if P, then Q, that's to say P and not Q. Now here's what we mean to negate it. Okay, when is if P, then Q true? When P is true and Q is true, right? If I want to change colors here, if I want to negate that, then how would I say, okay, this is true, how would I make this false? That P is true and Q is false. You see that? That would negate it. And what does this say? P is true and not Q. If Q is true, then not Q is false. Now, what I just did was explain to you why this is the negation of this. If you don't understand it, it doesn't matter. You just write down. The negation of if P, then Q is P and not Q. Now, we use that information to answer these questions here. 42. If you earn a lot of money, 42. What's it say? If you earn a lot of money, then what? You pay heavy taxes. Okay, this is an if-then statement. And what do they want me to do? They want me to negate it. So I would put over here, what would I do to negate it? If P, then Q, to negate it would be P and not Q. Agreed? So what's P? Move this over here. If P, then Q. So what's P? You earn a lot of money. Right? You earn a lot of money and what? You do not pay high taxes. Everybody see that? That's a negation of if you earn a lot of money, then you pay high taxes. To negate it is to say you earn a lot of money and you don't pay high taxes. Because that's how you negate if-then statements. You do that on every one of those. Now, when it comes to 49 and 51, whoa, we're out of time here, aren't we? They're going to ask you to write the statement. They're going to give you the statement, and then they're going to ask you to write it in if-then form. $132. One more thing you need to put in your notes to do these. Let's move this up a little bit. I'd sure like to know what, do any of you know what I'm doing wrong with this tablet? That it doesn't like me? Hitting it too hard? Probably. Here's another thing to put in your notes. If P, then Q is equivalent to not P or Q. So for number 50, Alice fails the test or she gets the job. That would be Alice fails the test. That would be not P. So P would be Alice did not fail the test. Or if Alice does not fail the test, then what? She gets the job. Okay? That's what it means to translate. They give you this, which is this, and they want you to translate to this. And you know what? We've used up our time, so I'm thinking we'll just stop at 51. And that's all you have to do for the homework. If you get a handle on, granted, if you want to go on for the fun of it and figure this stuff out, you can. But if you get a handle, but you might as well know that for problem number 56, you have to go to page 138 to find the information to work it. So it's pretty sad that they do that. But stop at 51, because if you get a handle on that much information, you'll be in good shape for the test for this section of the book. Okay? If you have any questions, stick around afterwards and I'll try to answer them for you. Oh, and if some of you want to correct your test, I've got your exams here if somebody wants to correct their exam.
This is 3.1. I didn't.
Okay, just lay it right there. How come it's not going on?
You want